Good afternoon. I'm Jeff Freeman. Thanks so much for joining us for our third session of the CPG Speak series. Thrilled to be able to do these sessions. They've received very, very positive reviews. I know I've enjoyed the conversations and heard great remarks from people that have been watching as well. So we're excited to bring you today's session. I want to start by thanking Clorox for sponsoring today's session, as well as PwC for their support of this series. Information on upcoming sessions can be found online at consumerbrandsassociation.org/CPG Speaks. Today, I'm joined by Benno Dorer, Chairman and CEO, and Troy Datcher, Senior Vice President and Chief Customer Officer for the Clorox Company. In today's discussion, we will touch on how Clorox has navigated the unprecedented increase in product demand, how they've balanced retailer relationships and their commercial business, and we'll conclude with how Clorox has remained connected with employees and stakeholders throughout this crisis. Following those remarks, we'll do our best to get through some of the questions you've submitted. Please click on the Zoom link at any time to submit a question on the bottom. And as I said, we'll try to get through as many of those as we possibly can. Benno, Troy, as I said, the demand has been unprecedented. It's something that no one would be able to deal with in full. What's it been like? Just how crazy have the past 6 months been for you? Is there such thing as a typical day anymore for you?
Thanks for having us, Jeff, and happy Pink Wednesday. There's clearly no average day. Unprecedented times, I think, has been used very, very often, and that's certainly true when we think about our workdays as well. The only thing that's perhaps true is that an average day has a lot more time on screen versus being live with people. That's the unfortunate difference, which, however, I think has opened a lot of our eyes on what's possible in working remotely. But no average day. Certainly, work-life balance also seems to be a term that used to be popular, but isn't true so much anymore, given that it's physically so much easier now to stay engaged and at work. But the thing that I would say that has kept me and perhaps all 8,800 Clorox people running a little faster these days is that we're making a big difference to consumers, to customers, and to communities in need. We serve consumers and customers with so many products that make a real difference, and that creates meaning for our work, and meaning, of course, helps a lot through extra busy and perhaps more difficult days. Troy?
Yeah, thanks, Benno. Jeff, thank you, and thanks to the association for giving us this time to connect with so many folks. It's a great opportunity to connect, and I can tell you that the days are long. They start early and they end late. But what I try to squeeze in every day is a couple of things. One is we've got to keep communicating out to folks in real time. That's both internally to our sales organization, but externally to our customers. Transparency has been king here as we move through these turbulent times. I'm trying to find some time to connect with our people, just making sure people are taking a break. Benno talked about the work-life balance situation. We're all working really hard and sprinting. We're sprinting a marathon. We actually don't know the finish line at this point. And so staying connected to our people is important. And finally, I try to find a couple of minutes in every day to pivot towards the future. We've got a great opportunity here as consumers are really engaged in the categories in which we compete to work with our retail partners to make sure that we're thinking about tomorrow. So today we're talking a lot about allocation management, but we're also having conversations about pivoting to growth, and that's exciting for sure.
Well, speaking of the future, I'd bury the lead if we didn't talk about the recent announcement that, Benno, you're going to hand over the reins as CEO to Linda Rendell and move into the chairmanship seat entirely. Why now?
Succession planning at Clorox is a well-planned effort together with our board. I've had my first succession planning meeting in November of 2014, which was month one of my tenure as a CEO. But this obviously has been long planned, well ahead of the pandemic. I've always believed that 6 years is the right time for me. First of all, because I do think that there's a life cycle to doing things. and it also corresponds with my personal life plan. But it just so happens also that now is a good time because we have so much opportunity as a company. And for us, I feel like it's really important just to have somebody in the CEO seat who capitalizes on this opportunity with an eye on the long term. And for that, it's good to have somebody in the seat who has a long runway left. So this is a good thing for the company. It's a good thing for our shareholders. Also a good thing for myself and my family.
I appreciate that and respect the value you place on that. Let me just ask on this, what can customers, investors, others expect from Linda?
Hopefully you'll get to ask her soon. But, I've known Linda for 13 years. She's been with our company for 17 years. I've worked closely with her for a long time. What I took on when I became CEO was to say, the Clorox train is a great train. It runs really well. It's a good looking train too. And the goal here is to make this train run faster. And I think that opportunity remains. We're in the midst of a company transformation. She has led that transformation with me. And now it's up to her to continue that. We have a strategy that we have a lot of confidence in. She was the architect of that strategy. Started in 2019, and we've been at this for the last year. And the core of the strategy is to be exceptional innovators that earn people's rights, earn the right to have loyal consumers and customers. And at the core of that is delivering better value to consumers. It is innovating not just in products, but in how we build brands and how we go to market with customers, in how we do work, and to lead the transformation and capitalize on an opportunity that we have to serve a lot more consumers and customers with products in our categories that are going to be in high demand for years to come. So Linda will play, as she always says, 100% offense. So you can expect a lot of good offense from a company that's 107 years old and does a lot of things well, but today is proud to be a leader in our industry and will continue to want to lead.
Well, we talk about our own organization as a 110-year-old startup, and perhaps Linda brings some of that same mentality, that same offensive nature. We look forward to working with her. Let's talk about what the past 6 months have been like, the extraordinary demand. Talk to the audience, please, a little bit about when did you know this thing was about to get crazy, and what were some of the immediate steps you took to try to get out ahead of things?
Yeah. So given the business that we're in, about a third of our business in the US and about half of our business internationally is in disinfecting products, we have a pretty effective early warning system. We know from annual flu season, we know from previous pandemics what to look for and how and where to detect outbreaks in flu or in other viruses. And we saw this pretty early January, end of December, early January. And the first thing for us was to build capacity and to build inventory. And we leaned in. We said that, it's better to have a regret of sitting on too much inventory than on not having enough. So we started, speeding up our lines pretty quickly. We took action to invest in capacity very quickly, and that was perhaps the first thing that we saw. Now, I don't think anybody thought that this was going to be as bad as it turned out to be. So clearly, everything we did on capacity hasn't been enough so far in certain categories. But that was our first thing. We wanted to be there for consumers, and we want to have as much product as possible. And then second, of course, keeping people safe. So we, as many companies, started to work remotely for all non-essential workers. So the people who are in our labs, in our factories, they are working on site today, of course, and have for the last 6 months. But everybody else has been working from home, and we have moved to be working from home and to enable that through technology and through other procedures and giving people the right help to be effective from home. and also changing the way we communicate and to change the way we govern as a company. We've done that very quickly, and we knew that this was going to be here to stay. So here in the Bay Area, a lot of companies had 2 weeks trial periods, 4 weeks trial periods, but we knew that this was going to be here to stay. So we set the company up to be able to work remotely for the foreseeable future, and that's certainly been helping our people cope with what clearly are difficult work circumstances, but which everybody in our company is encountering with optimism and with a great can-do attitude.
During your earnings call last week, you talked about how demand for the wipes, at least, was up over 500%. I mean, I think it's safe to say no company, no business is prepared to manage that rocket increase in sustained demand, even when you put things in inventory. If you look back to January, when you first saw things, are there a couple of things you might have done different, knowing now what if you would have known that then?
No, absolutely nothing, because we didn't have our foot on a brake then. We had it only on the accelerator then, and we still do have that today. But you're right in saying that, if you think about any company, not just our company, but any company serving consumers, matters like return on invested capital, operational efficiency, costs, they matter. So nobody in our industry has a buffer capacity of 500%, and I would argue that for the future, in order to be protected against future spikes, we have to think differently about a public and a private industry partnerships. At some point, hopefully, we will be able to think about what that looks like, but it's going to be necessary for us to be able to cover future spikes of demand, not just in disinfecting wipes, but in toilet paper and other categories that have seen similar spikes that we have encountered. But no, I'm very proud, in fact, of the efforts that we put in place and are still putting in place. The first thing for us was to simplify our product line, to speed up our own production. And we've done that phenomenally well. And importantly, we've done that without any recordable safety incident at our factories last quarter, which I'm incredibly proud of. But simplification was number one. And then two, we activated external partnerships because we have knowledge from past flu seasons and past pandemics. We have partnerships and people who can manufacture on our behalf. And we've activated more than 10 external parties who are today making products for us. And then very early in the pandemic, we have approved a significant amount of money, very significant amount of money, to build midterm capacity in our own factories and expand that. And what's of course frustrating to everybody is that takes time. But we're talking real machines. They need to be built. They need to be installed. So that's not an easy thing to do. It's not technology where you just push a button. But this is real machinery and real know-how that just takes time, unfortunately. But what I can reassure everybody is that we're leaning in all the way. Importantly, what we have been focused on as the single basis for our decision is to do the right thing. Early on in this pandemic, we asked ourselves, how do we make decisions? Because there's no basis, there's no database, there's all uncharted territory. And what we said is that the only way, the only measure we're going to use to make decisions is do the right thing. And, I want to give you two examples, perhaps, if I may, on how doing that was absolutely the right thing to do, but also led to difficult decisions. The first one was that we said it's absolutely the right thing to do with our disinfecting products to serve and prioritize caregivers first. So we have a business in the healthcare channel, and we said we got to get as many wipes and other disinfecting products to hospitals and first responders. That means, admittedly, fewer products at shelf in our retail stores. And of course, for our company, that has real implications that are not easy. But I and Troy have had many conversations with those customers, and they understand, simply because it's the right thing to do. The second thing, perhaps, was that right before the pandemic hit, we launched an innovation in Clorox compostable cleaning wipes. And Suffice it to say that they were off to an incredibly fast start, and we had incredibly high hopes for this innovation. But the trouble with that innovation is that those wipes don't disinfect just yet. So what we've decided is we're going to pull that launch, and we're going to make disinfecting wipes instead. That again has enormous ramifications for our business, and we did forego an enormous opportunity for growth that we believe is a terrific growth opportunity for our company in the long run. But we did it because it's the right thing to do, because our consumers needed disinfecting products. So we needed to make sure that we serve them with disinfecting products. So do the right thing has been something that has guided us. I feel good about everything that we've done over the last 6 months. And one thing that you all can be assured of is that we'll continue to play offense and be very aggressive and do what it takes. Money and investment and cost is not the issue. We will spend what it takes to build the right kind of capacity.
I want to come back to do the right thing because I think it's paid off, and we'll talk in a moment about how that's paid off. But I want to pull on 2 threads from what you said. One was the public-private partnerships. We agree that there are issues here, both opportunities as well as risks. On the risk side, I think we could all imagine an environment where government is now inquiring more about how much we keep in inventory and about the resiliency of the system, much the way they do with banks and others. Are they going to look at our industry that way? That's a question that we have. There's also opportunities, though. In the case of the next coronavirus bill that's being considered, we're working with your team and your peers to encourage funding for local schools to be able to purchase the cleaning, disinfectant, and other things that they need. So there is opportunity there. Let's also talk about the capacity issue. And if you could just take us inside the boardroom with you to the extent that you can. When demand is up 500%, obviously there's a near-term capacity issue. But how do you balance that with years and years and years of data that guides when to make these expenditures?
Not an easy one. So the question is, how do we decide how much capacity to build and how much do we lean in? Pedal to the metal, clearly. I would say it certainly varies by category, right? But, we use analytics like all companies do to guide what our long-term demand looks like. If you think about our disinfecting products, we do believe that elevated demand for disinfecting products is going to be here to stay. First of all, of course, to keep people safe, but then also to make people comfortable to be safe in public spaces again, right? And that's where disinfecting products, we think, can play an enormous role in the future in public health. But I also think that this lingering fear to catch a virus or to become ill is going to be here to stay. It's just like people who have ever participated in a war of some kind. This is something that you never forget. And I do believe that for most people who've been through the pandemic, that the experiences that we're making here today are going to shape the way we think and are going to shape many of our behaviors in many, many ways. And in the future, people are going to be wanting to be more social again. I think that's probably the thing that we hunger for the most. We want to be out, we want to be travel, we want to be with people. And it's inconceivable to me, and also based on data, that will not lead to higher demand for disinfecting products. So what we've decided to do is we're going to lean in because we know that we serve public health, and that comes with opportunity, but it also comes with responsibility. And the responsibility for our company is to invest. And I'm really proud that the rest of my board has supported that. And we've made several very large investments to build capacity. And we do that saying that we don't want to be sorry that we didn't build enough capacity. We'd rather deal with the problem that we built too much. That's something that we can deal with, but we feel like every consumer today who cannot buy our products is let down by our company, and we take that very seriously, and we pay attention to that, and that's why we're taking an aggressive stance in investing in additional capacity.
So let me pick up on that and one last question before I turn it over to Troy for a moment. and this goes with the do the right thing theme. In a recent Axios poll that came out, Clorox was ranked as one of the top trusted brands in the country. And obviously it's highly relevant today, but building that reputation takes years. What do you attribute the ranking of being really the most trusted company in the country? And how have you been able to maintain it in light of the crisis?
Yeah, so obviously that's gratifying. So those of you who don't know, this is a survey among 34,000 American consumers, and they've been asked, about corporations they trust, and Clorox among 2,000 companies came out as number one. First of all, we are in touch because this came from consumers. We are in touch with consumers mostly through our brands. So this tells us that we're doing something well with our brands. And of course, brands right now matter more than they ever have, and it's because people during this time trust brands, and they trust brands that they know and perhaps also that they're familiar with, because people are exposed to so much change and uncertainty in their life that it's very reassuring for people to trust brands. And if we take one of our products, Glad trash bags, what we see is that people who buy private label trash bags often double bag because they don't trust that, and then that leads to an expense that they can't afford, because it's much more expensive to buy 2 private label trash bags than 1 Glad trash bag. So trust in brands clearly matters. And for us, we build trust in brands by being the leading investor in the consumer in all or most of the categories that we're in, by providing a steady stream of innovation that leads to people saying that the majority of our brands is superior in value compared to private label or the branded competitors. So delivering better value, do what you say, innovate, be a voice. And we have, over the last 12 months, activated what we call purpose-driven brands on all of our major US brands. So all brands today, Clorox brands, have a purpose that's not about ourselves and about the brand and about the product, but it is about how we relate to the community and how we make a difference, not just the consumer, but to the greater good. And we feel like those efforts have been rewarded. And then, of course, as a company, we support our brands. We are after what we call good growth, and good growth isn't just profitable, but also sustainable and responsible. So we pride ourselves in being an industry leader in sustainability. We pride ourselves in being a company that doesn't just serve shareholders, but takes care of all stakeholders. And as a company that's been 107 years old, we also have a great constancy of purpose. So I would say it's perhaps the sum of all these parts at a time when our brands are particularly relevant to consumers.
That's great. I appreciate those comments. Troy, I want to turn over to you. Benno made a comment that obviously the two of you have been spending a lot of time with the customer, with the retailers, and he said that they understand that you've got to get that product to the commercial business. Do they always understand?
Yeah, I'd say they do, and we've been fortunate to have partners that are really, we're all in this together. I mean, they're serving a purpose for their communities. They know how important being open and having products available is to keeping their community going. And they know that at the bedrock of that, it is protecting frontline workers. And so from the first conversation to the last one I had just an hour ago, we're getting a resounding thumbs up from retailers as we try to really work to protect those frontline workers. So that has been something I'm not surprised by. I've been in this industry for 30 years and been with Clorox for 20 years. And while there's been many tough conversations with retailers, we have one thing at the center, and that's people. We have that in common. And as a result, it's been no surprise to me that they recognize that as being a priority for all of us.
And one thing, if I may add to Joy's really good points, is that, and maybe also for the audience, what we've chosen is an approach that's completely transparent. So we have said we have to be able to look everybody in the eye. And as you can imagine, we have a lot of conversations with customers. we have to be completely transparent in how we allocate our products, what role the customer plays for us and what we will give them. And, we feel like while that can be difficult at times, we look at our retailers as partners, and partnerships, as with everything in life, are critical and have to be on the basis of trust, and trust requires transparency.
And Jeff, I'd say too, we've had a long-standing professional products business that has serviced these institutions for many, many years. This is not a opportunistic thing that we're chasing. We've been there before, we're there now. And I think that's at the heart of why retailers also understand. It's not a opportunity we're chasing. This is a role that we've played for many, many years.
So what aspects, Benno, you used the word partnership. Troy, I think you did as well. What aspect of the partnership has evolved through COVID? What may be with us for the long haul that maybe wasn't with us a year ago, but that partnership has to have shifted in one way or another?
Well, and I'd say a couple of things. One is the level of collaboration and transparency is unparalleled. And it's something I don't think we'll ever give up again. We actually, Benno mentioned this, we simplified our assortment significantly over the last 5 months. We were making over 450 cleaning SKUs. We're now making roughly 45. And what that required is a transparent conversation with retailers around our supply chain together and how we can get more output and more product to the shelf. And we literally jumped into action. These are weekend conversations I would have with retailers on a Saturday, and by Monday morning, the assortment was changed. And so what I know is that we can now move with the pace that's required to tackle any challenge that faces us. Typically we go in and have top-to-top meetings. We make recommendations. We do these really periodic, big conversations a couple times a year. We wait another 12 months to institute whatever the recommendations are. Those days are over. If there's an opportunity, I know that we can tackle it immediately because we've done so in this situation. So I think collaboration is one, transparency is another, and then speed is one thing that I think we'll never give up as well. We can make decisions and move quickly if we're aligned on the objective. And that's been really something that's been born out of this pandemic as we've been working together with retailers.
That's a great point about the top-to-top discussions, right? They don't have to wait 12 months. We're going to have these on a regular basis, and we're going to expect to see change much more quickly than we did in the past. Let me ask you, when you think of commercial business, I think schools would probably qualify as the commercial business as well. The demand for the product is going to be extraordinary. In fact, with your support, we're going to release some data tomorrow on just how extraordinary the demand will be. If we're going to open up schools or even a subset of those schools, I think it's going to blow people away in terms of the amount of material that's needed, in terms of disinfecting wipes and the spray bottles. It's a staggering amount. How do you manage that demand of schools on top of the retail demand, the healthcare demand? Right? This seems next to impossible.
Yeah. Well, the good news is that we're not in this alone. So it's not ours to just solve. Just as one entity. We actually, partners matter here. That's retailers or third-party partners, as well as, here's the great thing, the average American consumer is participating in making this situation better for kids as they go back to school. And this is a long-standing thing that's happened. Parents have bought a canister of wipes for their home and also for their kids' classroom. They've done it historically forever. It's a big part of our back to school program. And so I think what we're going to see collectively is we all will be working hard to make sure that schools have the right solutions so that our kids can get back in the classroom. So we'll do our role by increasing supply. We'll work with retailers to make sure that we're putting the right solutions in front of those shoppers at the right time. But importantly, the community will jump into action as they always have in helping to provide the support needed. So we're excited about the fact that everyone's engaged and focused on this as the end goal is to get our kids back into school. And we're happy to play a role in that. And it's been something we've done every back to school season. This one obviously is a bit more heightened based on the current situation we're all in.
Yeah, it's such a great answer. Oftentimes the simplest answer is the best answer. And it makes you think. As parents, so many of us have been coming in that first day of school and providing the disinfecting wipes, maybe the paper towels or whatever it may be. We all play a role there.
Yeah.
And your point is that partnership is very important. Let me ask you, I mean, you mentioned you just had another call with a customer less than an hour ago. You pull your crystal ball out. When we were doing this back in March and April, there was some optimism that maybe things will be different as we get to summer, or things will be different after Labor Day. I think reality is largely set in. Until we get a vaccine, things are unlikely to be significantly different than they are. And the vaccine is not coming right around the corner. So as you look in the months down the road, what are some of the emerging issues? What are some of the things that keep you up at night?
So is that, to me, I'll jump in there. I actually see it as opportunity and really not issues. I think we know is that there's a lot of consumer interest in protecting, not only keeping your home safe, but as Benno mentioned, once people venture out into the world, they want that environment to be safe as well. And so I see just tons of opportunity for all of us as we work really hard to create environments for people to enjoy what's great about being in this country, which is getting out and connecting with people and enjoying our favorite sporting events and entertainment and all those things that we're missing so much right now. No, we don't have a crystal ball on like what that looks like. I can tell you there's a lot of data coming our way that we're analyzing, much like any organization that probably is on this call. What we're doing, as Benno mentioned, is we got the pedal to the metal and trying to create as much supply as possible. And we won't stop until we actually can meet the demand that's there. So,
yeah, perhaps, and perhaps, first of all, I will say actually, we have an opportunity to improve lives dramatically and make a difference. If you look across the pond where, both ponds, I guess, where, the situation is looking a lot better than in this country. And, the key is to, socially distance, wear masks, disinfect surfaces, wash hands. Those things do make a significant difference. And then, of course, the use of technology, like starting to contact trace. So I do feel like we have a huge opportunity before a vaccine comes into play. Knock on wood, hopefully it will come into play, but I don't think we can count on it. But I do think what we all do and what we all role model every single day can make a big difference. I'm German. So in Germany, my family still lives in Germany and life looks pretty close to normal. It's not exactly all the way to normal, but it is pretty close to normal. And that is because the behavior that we all role model and display every single day is different. So I feel like we do have that opportunity. But I think for everybody in our industry, consumer behavior is going to change. No matter what business you're going to be in, there's going to be new needs, there's going to be new opportunities. And I think that's the nature of our business. We want to serve consumers at all times as best as we can. And I think the opportunity for us is beyond meeting the demand of today, to think about what demand tomorrow will look like, and then together with customers, bring innovation to market that will make a difference to consumers for years to come. And I feel like this is clearly a time of tremendous disruption, but disruption generally breeds new consumer behavior. A new consumer behavior for our industry is a tremendous source of innovation. So I feel like this is one where, as an industry, we can, as much as we would like to live in a world without pandemic, where we can together figure out how we can serve consumers better in the future. And there's certainly plenty of opportunity to do so.
Hey, Jeff, I'll just add to, Benno mentioned innovation is key, and we're working really hard at that. But we're also finding really creative ways to reach our partners to answer some of these questions today that are being challenged by supply. Here's an example. We've all talked about the shortage of wipes in terms of its demand versus supply. Well, we're working with retailers to talk to consumers about the versatility of bleach. And so we actually, if you can't find your favorite form of wipes or sprays on the shelf, then here's how you could take a bottle bleach and convert it to a solution that you can use at home safely that replaces the form you can't locate. That joint education with us providing the information and retailers communicating their shoppers is underway right now in stores all over this country. And I am so excited about the fact that we are getting creative about the solution and answering really that fundamental question of how can we serve consumers better. And so frustrating that we can't have that wipe sitting on the shelf, but because we can make more bleach and we are, our supply chain is a much better situation there. We are working with retailers to offer a solution, and it's a great winning. If you haven't seen it yet in the marketplace, you'll start to see it showing up.
That's a good transition, Troy. Thank you. I've got about 70 questions in the Q&A. 67 of them are, where can I find my wipes?
My mom's asking the same question. So, yeah.
So I think you speak to that, and it's gonna be a process. And Benno, I've heard you in public comments. It's not going to turn around overnight. It's going to be a process here, but we will start to see that increase, and I know we all look forward to that. Let me ask some of the questions that are here. You know, a 500% increase in demand. That means a lot more plastic that we're using to put all of these packages in. In fact, when you look at what's happened during COVID, somewhat oddly, right, there's been a return to single-use plastics. You're based in California. California has been the most aggressive state in terms of legislation to eliminate a lot of these plastics. How are you balancing that within the company, the demand and the increasing opposition to the packaging materials?
Yeah, we're very mindful of that and very committed to that. We serve 9 out of 10 U.S. households, so our products show up in a lot of households. You know, back to wipes. You know, obviously, I think we have said that we have increased total production by 50% since early this year compared to the previous year. So we're proud of the progress. As Troy said, in many of the disinfecting categories, like our disinfecting bleach, supply actually looks good now. We're making significant progress, but wipes, of course, is the one that we're still working on. And what we've commented on is that even though we're making wipes every single day, 24/7, 365, much more than we ever have, and the number of wipes will continue to go up. It'll take until 2021 until we're fully up to speed. And the issue is not lack of supply. The issue is unprecedented demand that it just takes time to catch up to that. But sustainability is very important to us. And with our Ignite strategy last year, we have fully integrated our sustainability strategy in our business strategy. And one thing that we have done is that we have committed to reducing the amount of virgin plastic and fiber that we use in our product and packaging by 50% by the year 2030. That is a very ambitious goal, a goal that I have not seen shared by anybody else in the industry, but we're very committed to that, and we remain committed to that. So just this morning, Troy and I, with our senior management team, have reviewed the progress against our sustainability strategy. And what's great is that we have been, in fact, accelerated our progress on sustainability, even as we've been as we've been busy meeting demand on disinfecting and other products. So we're very committed to that, and we know that consumers are too. There has been a myth and an initial hypothesis out there that consumers, perhaps in the face of economic hardship and the pandemic, might deprioritize sustainability, and in fact the opposite is true. And we also see that on our brand Burt's Bees, where we know the trend towards natural continues to accelerate. So sustainability will matter to consumers, and as a result of this pandemic will matter more to consumers than it has before, because everybody's now seeing what impact human behavior has on the environment. And the Clorox Company remains committed to that 50% reduction goal, and the progress against it is very strong.
I've got another question for you, but I just want to close the loop on the point you made, because everybody's interested. When it comes to the issue with the wipes, it's not a supply issue in terms of materials and various chemicals. it is an issue of demand simply outstripping the capacity that is in the system.
Yeah, it is. And of course, that's so we're shipping to customers every single day, and whether that's e-commerce or whether that's a brick and mortar. So, it's just that as soon as the product arrives in stores, it's being scooped up. So this is one where perhaps talking to the store manager about when they get deliveries, going early in the day, checking different stores. I do find disinfecting wipes. To be clear, I don't have a stash at home. No employee has a stash at home. Everything that we have goes to consumers. But I do find them, but it requires more work than anybody, of course, right now wants to take on, and I understand that. But we're shipping every single day.
Let me close with one last question. You and Troy both spoken to innovation at various times. When there is so much demand for your core product, how do you simultaneously invest in R&D and innovation? There must be negative effects on your ability to pursue some of those initiatives. Wouldn't that be the case?
No. It's a matter of priorities. And I think one thing that clearly comes at a premium right now is focus, right? But what I can say, for instance, is through the conversion to, in our case, Microsoft Teams, and I know many companies have done that, we're making decisions much faster than we ever have, much faster. So we're able to get more done with the same amount of resources, but we've also ruthlessly cut, bureaucracy. We call it Reimagine How We Work. It's one of our strategic pillars. And through use of technology and through use of tools like empowering employees and working on the culture of our company, we have made great progress to be faster, to be simpler, and to be bolder. Because the one thing that we don't want to do is be short-sighted here. Innovation's very much alive and well at Clorox, and in fact, in many ways, the progress on innovation, like in the sustainability area, as I've explained, has been accelerated through this pandemic. We've also, for instance, some people have not fully appreciated that. We see a lot of companies in our space take out advertising dollars. And they say that, we don't need to advertise right now or generate demand for products that are selling by themselves. And, of course, all companies have to make their own decisions, but that's not the decision that we as a Clorox company make, because for us, advertising isn't a quarterly expense to sell volume within the quarter, but advertising is a long-term investment. And for us, that is an investment in building brands, in building trust, in continuing to build the value perception of our brands, all with an eye on the long term. And with all the focus that we have on serving more consumers by manufacturing more products every single day, the key focus we've been able to maintain as a company throughout all of this is one of building the business for the long term and building the business the right way. And innovation sits right at the heart of that.
And Jeff, I'll just put an exclamation point on it just to say that retailers expect us to bring innovation. We are the number one or number two brand in the majority of the categories in which we compete. There's a responsibility that comes with that. And innovation is at the top of that list. Benno also mentioned keeping consumers interested and educated in the categories, and we do that through our marketing efforts. And so we will have, a large share of voice or spend in the category when it comes to marketing, and we will innovate. That is key. And it's what retailers expect from us, and we will deliver against that.
It's a good point, Troy. Thank you for that. It's not an option to pull back on innovation, and we certainly see that commitment within the company. I want to thank you and Benno. We've got more questions. We could continue this, but we stick to 45 minutes. This was a great discussion. I really appreciate it. And Benno, I just want to mention, you've been the vice chairman of the Consumer Brands Association, previously GMA. You were on the search committee that put me in this role. I want to thank you for the support. We're grateful for Clorox's participation and active engagement in our organization, but we're particularly grateful for you and all you've done to help bring the industry together. Thank you, and hope we can continue to work together.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff, and thanks for everything you do. Having been part of the search committee, I'm going to pat myself on the back right now for saying that we've made a good decision because you're a great leader and spokesperson for our industry, as is your team. And we're proud to have you, and we look forward to continue to working with you as a Clorox company and help lead the industry. Thank you.
We appreciate that. All the best. Take care.